Hi, Mike Wilson here, and today let's talk about the driver, how to hit it farther, of course, how to hit it straighter and more solid. Now with the driver, first things first, let's get you set up nice and square, which will help you turn properly in your backswing. So as you set into the ball, make sure that as you're setting in, doing some practice, get your feet nice and square to your target line. Do your best to get your shoulders also square to your target line. I do see a lot of players with open shoulders or shoulders sitting this way, and that tends to create more of that reverse pivot, more of that coming across the shot, which puts the slice on the ball. So try to make sure to get yourself nice and square first. This will also help you with the spine tilt, getting behind the ball, which we'll talk about in a minute. Crucial thing, get nice and square. And next we'll work on the swing plane or the angle of the swing and talk a little bit about where you should approach the ball from to allow yourself to be the best driver that you can be. Okay, as you can see, I got my buddy the pool noodle set up here to help work on the swing plane. If you're gonna hit it solid, and if you're gonna put some draw spin on it, that will help you hit the ball farther and of course more accurately. Any of you have had a lot of lessons from me working on your driver, you're well acquainted with the plane. If you haven't worked on the plane and you seem to be fading the ball or certainly not hitting it in the center of the club in the sweet spot, you're probably off plane. So the plane or the angle the club swings on looks something like this. As you're coming down, it's so important your club's coming in and approaching on an angle like that. So if you're going to hit the sweet spot of your driver and get more distance by just solid contact, it's vital that you learn to get the club up here to the top and start to come down in such a way you would always come down underneath this, and that will start to set you up for success. So if you have that image, you're in good shape. The most critical part of that is what happens at the top of your swing. At the top of your swing, if you have even a little slight movement outward where the club moves this way and then tries to dip under, that will throw the shot off. It's vital that at the top of your swing that you're set up in such a way the club starts down and shallows, as we call it, or comes down more like this right away, and then it will swing out to the ball nicely, more consistently from that angle. It's huge that you can learn to let the club come down correctly from the top, and a lot of times if people work on this setup position from the front, it will give you the best chance to do that. So what do we look for from this angle? Well, first of all, the ball position. The ball needs to be toward the front of your stance, like the left heel. A wider stance than you would certainly with an iron. Feet nice and parallel to my target line, and then my spine angle needs to be tilted back behind the ball, or tilted in such a way that my head is a little more back this way to the right relative to an iron shot. So a little more tilted. This will once again allow me to get a little more of an upswing coming up on that ball, a very shallow approach angle. So make sure you can get the spine angle correct. That's going to look something like that at address. And that will help you come down on plane, stay behind it with your head, have more of that kind of a look when you're coming into impact. Now we talk about impact a lot in golf. The last thing I'll mention is the impact with the driver. With an iron, we talk about hitting down and compressing those iron shots, but with a driver, it's also important that you're not sort of throwing the club head past your hands, which creates a club that's sort of hitting across the ball, putting side spin on it, and of course it'll get you hitting all around the side of the club. So once again, as you're set up correctly and coming down correctly, you're much more likely to have your hands just slightly in front like you see here, not having any kind of throwing or move this way. Okay, we talk about power a couple ways with the driver. Number one is if you're set up correctly, you've worked on that and you know you're set up right. Number one is, are you turning fully in your backswing? And by turning fully, I mean mainly shoulder turn, but also hip turn. So if anything's restricting your turn, so you don't have enough range of motion, the tendency then will be for you to come down and chop on the ball. You will not swing under this noodle, you'd swing over it. So having a fuller turn, as full a turn as you can have with that tilt, will put you in a position like this, where my back is facing the target, my hips have turned, and my shoulders have turned, and now it's much easier to come down and sweep into that ball like we talked about earlier. Okay, that about wraps it up for the driver video. If you have any questions, please let me know. We want you to be driving the ball well, accurately, as long as you can, to set yourself up for success on as many holes as possible. Have a great day.